Hi, everybody. If you've been a listener before, welcome back. And if you're a new listener, welcome. This is the second episode in the series I'm doing with Sheri Perbeck. And we're back to talk about what we can do to use some of this special time that I'm going to call a gift that we've been given in these unusual, unique times. Unusual, unique, that was very redundant. But anyway, here we are. So, Sheri, welcome. It's wonderful to be together again.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure, and sure the listeners out there can pick up our good energy here today together.
We do, for anybody watching and listening, we do have a bit of an audio delay, and sometimes we have static and drop each other. So if that happens, just know if you've got a temporary pause, just hold on or speed up your playback or whatever. But we're here with you. So today, Sheri and I were talking a little bit ahead of time, and we wanted to talk about some things that we think might be fun or good to do with this time that we have at our disposal. And we've both been sharing ideas, and we'd love to hear from you too. So don't hesitate to reach out to either of us. We'll have our contact information in the show notes. But Sheri, do you want to start with some ideas that you have?
Sure. Yeah. For me, I've been finding that this time that I have is actually it's a blessing. It's taken me a couple of days to realize that, or to remember that, I should say. But research comes to mind for me. We have the web. We still have internet service, as slow as it might be because everybody's on it. Um, but take the time to, do some research. I'm a big one for self healing. And sometimes we need the quietness to hear spirit, basically. I mean, we really do. Um, Treat it as a game. I'm sure all of us have had times where we're busy in our life, but we'll get these ideas that come to us from spirit, but we don't have time always to do research on it. So, dive into it, dive into your spirituality, dive into practicing meditation. um, really listen to spirit. Years ago when my husband would go on the road and he'd be gone for days, I would almost go into this panic of feeling alone. And I had spirit just about hit me in the head with this one day, and it was, you see that being alone is a bad thing, but it's a gift. I'm giving you a gift at this time to hear me. And it was so profound to me. It was like, of course. And working on my own gifts through the years, it is because I had been given the time to do that. My gifts, I feel, have become more clear to me. And we could say that my gifts have gotten stronger. I don't think that that's the right word. It's that it's become more clear. And so, given time, I have been able to pay more attention to who I am, my own shorthand, how I work, how I listen, paying attention to my own uh, emotions. And so, use this time to do that. The other thing is, we are in a time and have been for 20 plus years now, where, well, I actually want to say even back to the 90s when we had, our economy had changed even back then, that the message have always gotten was using our own creativity to produce an income.
Mm.
meaning starting new businesses, real creative ways. Maybe you like your job, but maybe you want a part time job. Maybe you want to produce a little extra money. Use this time to do that. That's a real playful way. There's no, you're not up against time right now. It's going to make things come to you a lot more clear because there's nothing urgent. So, and that is going to help us all to step out of the ego and step that ego aside. Because if we feed this ego, oh my God, which is what is happening with all the fear, we are allowing, and I know it is scary. I understand that, but try to stay out of the fear. We don't want to feed the ego any more than we already feed it. Set it aside. A lot of us are home. We're home. Where's our safe space? Right here at home. And thank God we are able to stay in our homes.
Mm-hmm.
We can still go get food, right? So for me, it's all about research. That would be my advice to give people at this time.
Yeah, I love that. I've always been an introvert, so spending time alone is something that I actually crave. And I agree so much with you because that time alone has allowed me to realize that I had a desire to be connected to that inner source, from a young age. And I never would
Right,
have known that if I didn't crave that time alone.
right,
And so now my fear is around other things. It's not around being alone. But
right,
I do think fear is sometimes what prevents people from going into that time. And to
yeah,
avoid or handle, not avoid. I don't think we should really avoid fear. I think we should deal with it and confront
right,
it or use some sort of word that isn't avoidance.
right,
I think it takes accepting that it isn't a monster, doing self healing, your word, any word, developing your inner gifts, self healing, facing your shadow, whatever. It's not a monster. It's not an ogre. It's a lovely, lovely journey. And
right,
knowing that can be something that can be, like you said, playful, so
right,
rewarding. Oh my
right,
goodness. It's
yeah,
to me, it's the best thing in life.
right,
Um, when I consider what's the worst thing that could happen, it would be ending my life without having experienced that. I mean, that would be the worst thing to me.
right,
So, y- I mean, we each have our own definition, but taking that
sure.
feeling of panic and fear away might invite more people to take that self healing journey. Um,
Oh, right, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly, Jan. That's the thing, if we could take a minute out of the day or, a few minutes and say, what is it that I most fear?
Mhm.
Okay. So my experience has been in doing readings with mediumship with the dead. Well, and communicating with the angels with what you just brought up about leaving this planet or dying before experiencing something, right?
Mhm.
That is such a huge thing for people that I get that. But what I have been told by the angels and the dead is that it is never too late. It is never too late because even when we leave here, most of us do have a heart's desire of something that we have not fulfilled or experienced, right?
Mhm.
But what I'm told that we will always be given the opportunity to still have that experience, whether it is in another lifetime or in another realm of existence before we actually further into deep heaven.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, but I mean, even with that said, if we could just talk our fears out,
Right.
that can actually be very fun. because we'll end up, you could end up going back to that inner child that says, well, you know, uh, I actually have the desire to do this, that, and the other. And, you know,
Hi.
hi. Okay. So I think the inner child uh, experience that we can all have can be really fun. It
Mhm.
really can. It's like it's letting go of the ego. It's the self expression that comes with that, and the freedom in it. So now I think it's really, we have a gift here. We really do. At the
Yeah.
same time,
Yeah. And, it's, I think important to have that fun. When you mentioned inner child, that releases so much creativity. It's like that positive momentum that starts, and it doesn't really matter how we begin it, whether we begin it by releasing the joy that the creativity starts, or we start with the creativity and then the joy begins. But it's important to allow our human spirit to experience that in order to really experience all of our gifts. And it's
right?
hard, or it can be. I don't actually like saying it's hard because it reinforces that feeling. It can be challenging, though, when we're in a pandemic, for Pete's sake, to feel like we want to have
Absolutely,
lighthearted fun. But then there's that point.
exactly.
Yeah, there's a point where I'm to myself, I'm calling it pandemic fatigue, where we're getting tired of the bad news, and yet it's not
Yeah,
smart to minimize it, and we don't want to exaggerate it, and we need to just let go and remember that we, at heart, are meant to have
right,
fun, and it's okay. It's more than okay to be silly and to laugh and to tell jokes and to be irreverent about things that aren't inappropriate, but to just have fun and be that little child inside. And that's just as
right,
important as you heal, or as you do big things or little things or middle things. And I want to talk a little
right,
bit, Sherry, about some of the ways we can just do that too, because I think that's really important
right.
too.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
some of the things that I like to do for that, because at heart, a very silly person, um, I think dancing
Hmm.
is one of the best ways. And I think everybody should dance every single day. I really do. And
Yeah,
I thought that I made this phrase up, but then I heard that it was actually a quote I saw posted from Sandra Bullock, and I thought, well, my goodness, we think alike, so that's a good thing. Um, but I think that if you dance every day, even if it's in the privacy of your own home, it changes the way you move in the world. Y-
right.
You
Hmm.
walk differently, you feel differently, everything about the day is different, even if it's
Yes.
alone. So I think that's
Yep.
one way. Um, you
Yep.
you can read silly books, you can watch silly movies, you can listen to silly recordings or videos. There's so many ways you could do arts and crafts. You could do, I've heard a lot. I tend to be creative in an artsy, craftsy way and in an artistic way. There's creative
Yep.
challenges you could do, like for 30 days,
Hmm.
challenge every day, paint a sky per day, do a musical composition per day, sculpt something every day. learn how to do something every day. There's so many things. Do a yoga pose every day. There's there some
Right.
areas have limitations on what you can do physically in terms of gyms are closed, and there are restrictions where I live in terms of how much you can even be outside and where you can be outside. But depending on where you live, um, you still can go outside within certain parameters. Go outside, get your exercise. There's ways to do.
Right. It, yeah, I think that's so important if we can go outside, even if you have a little front porch or a small back deck, get outside, get the fresh air. Um, try to stay away from staying in a dark, living room
Mhm,
and just sitting there. It's so important to get out. It just get out. And even a family gathering of some sort, even if you're watching um it was funny last night, my son and I, we really were acting quite silly together, and we were watching the Ellen DeGenerate show.
mhm.
I hope I said her last name right.
DeGeneres?
And she had a thing where if you downloaded the app for her show, because she's a game host show now. Yeah, yeah. Um, and it was so funny because I had to keep taking a picture of the penny because you can win. And boy, did it ever bring out the child in me. It was like I was 10 years old, So anything you can do together to pull each other together.
Mhm.
And it's almost getting to know each other again,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
because with time, right, as we get older, we have our jobs and we work and we're not spending as much time together being silly.
Mhm.
But that really felt great to do that. So
Oh, that's
I agree with
fun.
you on the fun stuff. Definitely
I
make it
haven't
a point.
Yeah, I haven't done games with my friends and family. I've, stayed in close contact, and, I do a lot of, video with friends and family, which is really nice. But the games are really a great idea. I also, the term social distancing bothers me from a neuroscience level because words are so important. So I'm using the term physical distancing
Yeah.
because we aren't socially distancing. We're
Oh, there
finding
you go.
creative ways to stay in touch. So we're physically distancing, but we're not socially distant.
Right, right,
So,
right.
um, so in terms of challenges, I think from a spiritual standpoint, there's all kinds of things, studies that if anybody had been kind of interested in learning but never took the time to do, you could learn tarot, you could study
Mhm.
astrology. There's all kinds of different fields of study you have time to do now. Um, as of now, Amazon is still delivering,
Right,
so you could still buy things if you need them. Other stores have mixed delivery, so
right,
some things are still available. Electronic things are typically
right.
still available. All kinds of ideas.
Mhm.
So, okay. Well, before we
Right,
close,
right.
are there any other thoughts?
Absolutely. We just have to, be mindful of this. Just be mindful. Just remind ourselves that we do have options.
Yes, yes. Oh, Sherry, I just thought of another idea um, around the angels. What would you say about
Mhm.
studying an angel? Like how often do you think, what would be your suggestion if someone wanted to study the angels at this time? How would they go about it? What are your ideas around that?
Oh, well, that would make me very happy. Um, yes, that's probably my number one advice, because people think that you have to have this special gift to get to know an angel and to be able to converse, and that's not true. It is all about us. So absolutely pick an angel, do research on the angel, and then start playing with the angel because they're there. We are the ones that need to call on them. Okay. So um, the more willingness that you have, the more you show them you want to engage with them. Boy, you want to talk about playful. However you are, however you, um, basically whatever your shorthand is, they're going to use that to communicate with you. And so, um, they're extremely creative. So now, yes, is the absolute time to do this with the angels. Pick an angel. If you want to pick 3 at a time, go ahead. But you have the time. We have the time. And I'll tell you, that's what I have been doing. Every day I want to take it another level deeper, because I'm sure Jan, that everything is in levels. You know what I mean? Just when you think you are at a certain point, there's another level to go.
Right.
So, I find it to be a blessing right now that, for me, I see it as a way to practice my gift and to go a little bit deeper for my clients. So, yeah, please do. And I want to say, Jan, there is an angel. Her name is Haniel, Haniel. She is the archangel of joy. Um, One of the signs when she comes around to me, and her color is like a cream color, but I could smell roses when she's nearby. And so the most amazing thing happens with this angel. You will start to see beauty in your life. You will start to feel happiness, giddy. Um, and it'll take bouts. It'll be like you'll have moments where you're literally feeling happy and you forgot what you were worried about 2 minutes ago. So that she is the perfect angel for help right now for what we are going through. So thank you for bringing the angels up because that for me that's my biggest message is call on Haniel. And even when we get through this, and we will, I would love to see people keep calling on her because, uh, come on, we're going to be walking around happier. For real, she's just really amazing at how giddy I get when I am communicating with her. I'll just start laughing, and all the angels will use the animals to communicate with us as well. So it may help you to start noticing more animals, and maybe the animals are acting silly. I was talking to a squirrel yesterday, and this squirrel, my husband was amazed at how this squirrel just sat there and stared at me. And there was definitely a response. And so, but a lot of things happen when you connect to these angels. A lot more doors open up than people think. So thank you for bringing up the angels.
Oh, of course. Of course. They're my go-to also. They just, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Do you have your favorite resources you want to share with listeners as you encourage them to study the angels?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Doreen Virtue has written a lot of books on the angels, and I believe she's to be true to heart. I've met Doreen Virtue, and I know that some things have changed for her, and that's her business.
Right.
But there's 2 things that I want to say when it comes to looking up information. If I say to everybody, if I just tell you that little bit about Hania, what I just said, I want you to use your own research first. Spend the day talking to her and literally make notes and pay attention to all the subtleties that are happening to you in that day that you've not really taken notice to, and sort of like collect data on the next few days in your interaction with Hanil. Even if you think, well, I might be making this up, that's okay. Write it down. Then go to the web and Google or YouTube the Archangel Hanil, and then compare notes to other light workers who do communicate with angels. And it will blow your mind at the confirmations that you will get.
Mhm.
That is how I've learned to communicate with the angels, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Michael, I did get to know from my mentor, my mentors. But after Michael, I would let these angels come to me and just gather my own connection, my own information. And many times and even to this day, if I meet somebody new, I'm saying to myself, your ego's in overdrive, you're making this shit up, right?
Mhm.
But I gather the information and then I will Google or YouTube and listen to other angel practitioners, and I am always blown away at
Mhm.
the confirmation.
Mhm.
To me, it keeps it authentic, and the I know now that these angels are very much about us, and so I may get a little bit different information because it's not really about the angels are not standing there uh, gathering, hey, Michael, I have more likes today than you do,
Right.
right?
Thank goodness.
It's
Oh
not
my
about,
goodness. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, right. So they are there for us. So that's what we need to know.
Mhm.
It is their job to be there for us.
Yeah.
So, just let it roll. Now, learning, you will in time learn to separate your ego. Your ego is going to want you to ask the angel for a question about your physical life. Don't bother. Don't bother doing that
Mhm.
because they know that we have created our physical existence.
Mhm.
They want us help to change our physical existence because that's our first questions, you know. And a lot of times it's not even that we're asking, how can I change my life? A lot of times the human is, can you make the change for me? You
Right.
know,
Yeah. Can you
and
yeah.
I get because right. So, but they are a couple of things that we need to know is that they're teachers to us, and they want us to learn that we have the power to make the change. And there's a lot that goes with that. The changing of the your perspective and
Mhm.
all of that. But we have such abilities as humans, well, as spirit beings, I should say, that they have to teach us, like baby steps,
Mhm.
because it could actually scare us to know how much
Mhm.
power we actually have within us.
Right. Right.
Period. And we've had uh we've had goddesses, we've had
Mhm.
gurus that know this ability and the power within
Yep.
that
Exactly.
have been actually trying to teach us all of this for years. So yeah, guess I'm getting ready to go off topic there because I get excited talking about the angels.
Well, it's very exciting, and I think that I mean, the way that I really like to, bring it to a real possibility and practicality level is that the human potential is so much more than what we think of on a daily basis. And to just know that we have that within us leaves it in the realm of what we can do. It's all possible. And it's up to us to just ask and unlock it. And that hopefully will take some of the fear out of it. And shift it back into the realm of possibility. So,
Right.
why don't
Right.
we leave it
Yep.
in that hopeful tone for this week and continue this for
That's
next week?
perfect.
Okay,
It's always good to leave it with the angels.
I agree. Okay. So more next week. And again, if anybody has anything that they want to ask or request for topics, just leave us a message. Bye for now. And until next time, be well and stay well.